Morning, friends. It's a sad day. Today we can't afford to keep our Toyotas on the road anymore. I'm turning in the plates for the Tacoma, and I'm on my way to Waterloo to grab the plates for the 4Runner. So, can't afford it anymore. These Toyotas have let us down. We're gonna go grab the plates for the other truck. Alright, here we are at LZE, Lamar Zimmerman Enterprises. I'm gonna go inside and talk with the owner and see if we can make our 4Runner rust more so we can keep it, or whatever it is that we're doing. There's a girl. No more plates on her. Dodge minivans are great. Hey guys, welcome to the video. It's a sad day. It's actually a very sad day. Today is the day that we turn in the license plates to all our vehicles. The only thing I've got plates on right now is the snowmobile trailer and my black snowmobile. So the two Toyotas, they're off the road. So this tax season, I went and took all the tax money, at least from the state. I think it was from the state tax return. Last year I didn't make enough money to really I didn't have any taxes to pay in last year. I simply didn't make enough money. So our total income, it was below the bottom of the tax bracket, whatever that is. I think it's around 20,000. It's basically nothing. A couple bucks a day. So last summer I worked away welding all summer. I think it was 6 months total. I stayed there until it started snowing. And then our baby was really close, a couple weeks. So I stopped until the little feller was born, and then I saved the tax return from the year before last, worked all the summer, and then we had some money left over for the winter. So we managed to get through the winter into the new tax season. And then our state tax return came through, and I invested 2/3 or more of that money into cryptocurrencies. And if you know, I might have had some in Tesla stock too. I really like Tesla stock, and there's a couple other ones, like a couple financial ones that I like. So if I was really rich, I'd do dividend investing. I think probably go into Coca-Cola or somebody that pays dividend. But I don't, so I'm having to look for fast-growing stocks. And one of the things I learned when I was 18 is, at age 18, I started a power tool repair business. I grew up old order Mennonite, so we would have our Rumspringen events. We would have singings and parties at our homes with lots and lots of people. So we had a party at our house one Sunday night, and it was bitter cold out. And it was before my parents really had any shops or garages or anything to hang out in that were warm. It was also a pretty rough period of time with the young folks. And so that night rolled around. It was bitter cold. There was a lot of drinking going on. We found whiskey bottles and flavored beer bottles, cans, for a long time afterwards. So they went into the garage that was beside the house. There was like a was a single bay. Somebody took 4 doors from a house and put 2 pairs together side by side and made a sliding door, and then on the other side was another 2 pairs of doors that slid apart. They're roll doors. They're kind of cool, really, but they were far gone. The tracks were junk. The concrete was all kind of broken apart and caved in inside. And there was big bins and nails and screws on the wall and stuff, and it was a mess. And the guys came in there drunken, and they started messing everything up. They tried to saw Dad's power cordless drill in half with a old wore out hand saw, push saw. And so the weekend went around, and there was copper wire everywhere. The air compressor was hanging on the chain fall like they were trying to hang it or something. So I went in there and cleaned everything back up. We had a little bit of fight with the guys at night because when they were really raising Cain and stuff, I went in and just pulled the fuse blocks out of the panel box. And they came after me, and I gave them the panel box block back that was for the 220 receptacle for the welder, and maybe some more receptacles. And I kept the other block, and I threw that one into the snowbank behind the storage barn. So, I think so, unless it was in the storage barn. But they were mad. They tried to beat it into the panel box, and they couldn't figure it out. So they got short pieces of copper house wire and just poked them in. And they came back out and the lights were all on. So they broke a bunch of stuff. Anyway, so that's the story of the power drill. So I'm like, well, what could I do to turn this around? I'm like, I'll just fix it. Maybe I'll just start fixing power tools, because that's something I can do in the little garage that was there. Buster Kindleberger owned that. He did a little bit of machine work in there. He had a lathe and some other stuff. And the chain fall was in there to pull car engines out. He had a little 60-acre farm and a John Deere A or B or something, and 12 head of cows, dairy cows. So yeah, that's basically just a little farm and a little garage. I think he liked to do machining and stuff. He wasn't really a carpenter. At least I couldn't tell from around the farm. Like this property here, you can tell somebody was a carpenter. The woodworking is exquisite. So I started the power tool business. I had $1,200 of my own money. It was in 2008. I didn't want a construction job. I ended up finding nothing. I was pretty depressed. We didn't have it easy at home. And me being the oldest, I got saddled with all the work. So I was a little too low to just go out and job hunt and do cold calling. So I took the tool, made some calls. I figured out where to get parts from Pennsylvania, and started doing power tools with my own $1,200. I bought in some tools, did some trades and stuff. And pretty soon I had a little bit of an inventory going on. My mom in the other garage attached to the house, there was some nice wooden shelves, and I took some green carpet, put it on the stained pine shelves, made a nice little display. So the people that sold me the parts offered me to be able to buy through their account. I would just set up as store number 2 and then get drop shipped directly from the Milwaukee shipping center. So after a while, I decided, this is going to be okay. I had people calling me from Waterloo and Seneca Falls and places 30, 40 miles away. They wanted to refit their tools. They wanted stuff repaired. And so I saw, this is demand. People are actually calling me up for needing stuff done. So I borrowed $10,000 from Dad, wrote it in a notebook, and every time I did a repair or sold a part to him or did anything for him or was able to pay it back, I would take it off the list. Eventually it was a couple pages long, but I found out very quickly that money came with strings attached. And I don't stand for bullying, and I don't stand for strings attached. So I'm very happy that it is pretty much Mennonite custom to put your boys on a farm, dairy farm. The community in New York is built on dairy farming from the very get-go. And this is spread out a lot and very rural. There were not a lot of businesses back in the day, and land was cheap and dairying was good enough for people to make that a way of life. So I would have been someone that would have gotten a dairy. But I'm very thankful now that I didn't, because with that first $10,000, I found out what it's like to be in debt to somebody else. And when you're in debt to somebody else, you do what they tell you to, because you have their money. And it can be even worse if it's a family member. So I paid that $10,000 back in the first year. I think the second year I made $20,000 of income. I think I was at home for 3 years. The first year or so I was in the garage. My mom's used to have a silverware and china shop. So I just used her office desk and her couple of shelves there, one little section of shelves off by themselves. I did my own printing. I did my own ads, all my own accounting, did my own taxes, did everything myself, just like I do now. About the third year, might have been the second year, I talked with Dad and he agreed. He said, listen, I gotta concrete the garage anyway, where the boys wrecked the tools and stuff, which I had a little corner bench in there where I fixed tools anyway that I played on growing up, so it was kind of my corner. Dad never liked mechanic work. He also built himself a pole barn with a shop in it, so he didn't really need that corner. So I played in there and built stuff in there, modified bicycles in there. The shop there's got a lean-to where they keep their buggies now. That used to be where Dad shoot horses. He had the Farm All See in there when he stopped using it. The Massey Ferguson was in there too, and that was where I painted and got my Farm All See running. Dad said once I turned 12, he said, if you paint this tractor, it's yours. So I painted the tractor with a paintbrush. A couple years later, I redid it with a paintbrush, and then 10 years later, I resprayed it. So after the first $10,000, I got that paid back. I built shelving in the new area. I helped Dad put down the cement, trowed everything by hand. I built workbenches in there, counters. I had a desk. I had a computer system my friend from school helped me build to do inventory. He came over and tried to help me get something underway for accounting, because I really wanted to start accounting at square one, just because the less headache down the road. The third year, I think so, he came in helping me do the taxes, and he said, listen, this business is pretty good. He was newlywed, I was still single. Can I buy this business? I said, well, fixing power tools, I really love sales work. And I really think the Weaver side of my family, Grandpa's a bike shop, had a bike shop for years. He likes selling stuff. I really love selling stuff. So I enjoy it. My dream was always to be an international tractor mechanic. I was hoping that me and my brothers could team up and have basically like the biggest international harvester parts shop, and maybe repaint tractors, part tractors out, fix tractors, do all kinds of tractor stuff. But I was still single. I wanted something to do and didn't have a job, so that's why I started the power tool stuff. Because it fit at the time. I think it was the right thing to do. It's kind of hard to tell now. My friend Matthew came over and he said, can I buy the thing? And I said yes. The only thing is, I want to stay on for a year or two and help you get the thing started. So he took his life savings and he lived on a property that his dad bought next, just around the corner from his dad's farm, his father Lloyd's farm. So me and Matthew went together. He took his life savings and built a 40 by 40 building. We concreted the floor, drywalled the inside, put up slat board. We had a interior wall. Behind the wall, we had a DS water boiler, wood-fired water boiler. We did the drywall ourselves, the building with the help of his cousins, the roof, the exterior. His father-in-law lent him this mid-sized cat excavator. With a blade on it, mostly Matthew excavated everything. We went in at full tilt. He ended up wanting to have more equity in the actual sellable items in the store, the actual inventory. So he ended up borrowing everything he could borrow. Being Mennonite, we weren't allowed to use the internet. We weren't allowed to have internet. So in the beginning, we just built our own computers from scratch and then connected them together within the store without internet, via internet cable. So it's really hard to do business without being hooked onto the internet to communicate back and forth with the part suppliers and stuff. So we had to get in thumb drives, big PDF files. We would print a lot of stuff. We would have to enter in all our inventory manually, so no assistance from the corporate side. Our sales guy would help us bring in thumb drives with the files and the price lists and the big PDFs and stuff, and then we would cut and paste some of that stuff in our ads and whatnot. It was really difficult. We did pretty well, but we ended up with a lot of inventory. We were 10 minutes, 15 minutes outside of town and not really on any of the regular routes. So if somebody wanted a power tool fixed, it would cost at least half price of a new power tool. So I think a lot of people just went and bought new stuff and junked their old. We did warranty work for Milwaukee. We wanted to get in with DeWalt, and we found a Amish DeWalt wholesaler, so we wholesaled tools through them, and they gave us some really good pricing. So on big packs of items, like 3 or more items, like 3 battery saws or 3 drills or 3 impact wrenches at a time, drivers, drills, all of that stuff. And later on, we got in with DeWalt. We got in talks with those guys, and they said, we can give you a dealership. The problem was the dealership pricing was higher than, it was very close. It was right around the same price as what our competition could sell for. So we were making less than 10%, 5 or 10% through DeWalt. DeWalt said, you gotta sell first before we can approve you for a service center. So, well, we had to go out on the limb and spend $100,000 in inventory with DeWalt. So we did that. So we had $100,000 in Milwaukee. We had $100,000 to DeWalt, as well as a number of other brands, some air sanders and things that people wanted. We wanted to get those in. And we were trying to get into consumables like sandpaper, nails, and screws and things by the pallet, something we could move on a regular basis so we don't get sucked down in this quagmire of having way too much cordless and corded inventory. We were thinking about tool rentals. Anyway, about that time, he decided that him and his wife would go ahead and get internet so we could do our business effectively. And that, of course, made trouble with his church membership. At that point in time, I was dating, about to get married, so I just held back. I said, listen, I got enough things on my plate right now. You can go ahead and do internet if you want to. I really appreciate and support the idea, but I can't do it right now. So they went ahead and before he knew it, deacon came down and served their excommunication, and it was a mess. It was a big mess. And then one morning I came down, and the neighbor lady came over and told us that Matthew's father, Lloyd, had passed away from a heart attack in his sleep that night. And my friend Matthew's situation with his family was one where his mom struggled with mental health, and we always believed that God would take her first because she really depended on her husband Lloyd for a lot of things, just to keep everything going, and somebody to step in when she couldn't do her regular duties. So it was very hard, and the excommunication just cut away everything, cut away family and our friends from church, any hope of having insurance. Mennonite health insurance is through the church. The fire and property insurance is through the church, so all of that stuff went away. Our business insurance would also be through the church. That all went away. Health insurance all went away. And it was a very hard time. We realized that kind of a system is pretty abusive in some ways, because if you're in it, you're beneficial, or you benefit. If you're not in it, you don't benefit. And just the culture shock alone is a big thing. So that was a very hard time, and because of losing the Mennonite church membership, that meant that the finances got under scrutiny, and his father-in-law was a deacon, not our district, but another district. So his father-in-law was on the horn very soon, demanding that he wants the money back. And then some other family members and in-laws of Matt's, where he borrowed money, they were on his case very quickly. We need the money back now. So he turned to his new church membership, also a different Mennonite, Weaverland Conference Mennonites, and they have a committee where they lend money out to young folks starting off. So they got together and formed a committee, an oversight committee for us. Around that time, me and my wife, we had to go somewhere else and do something else. So my dad shoot horses. As long as I remember, I've been shooting horses. So I got a 5-gallon bucket and some tools and tossed them in there and started going out shooting horses. So we spent a few weeks after a wedding at the shop, being lovey-dovey and making Matt and his wife angry, but so after that I went home and started shooting horses full time, and I didn't hear too much, but later on the committee got a hold of me and said, hey, listen, actually I think I went to a meeting or two, but in the end the committee got a hold of me and said, listen, we can make you 2 payments of $3,600, or 3 payments. I'm not sure. I didn't really care. I didn't borrow any money to go into this. I started off with $1,200 of my own money, $10,000 of Dad's money. I paid him everything back, and the inventory at my cost going into the new enterprise was at around $18,000. So I took $18,000, and in 2 years' time, 2 or 3 years, I don't remember, I lost almost all of it. So I shoot horses for a couple more years. I stopped advertising, and it just sort of went away. Shooting horses is incredibly hard work and taxing, and a lot of guys that do it for a long time get hurt very badly. They wreck their backs, their elbows, knees, wrists. They get kicked by horses, cut by nails, stomped on, run over. I'm not an animal person. I don't really enjoy the horses. I don't mind the horses. I don't get excited about horses. And I have allergies, so I get choked up and pretty sick for a day or two after I'm around horses. It's livable. I can live with it. But it's just the fact that it's not what I want to do with my life. So, those payments were very welcome, but I was used to flowing a lot of cash. And I had a couple good credit cards, but after a year or two, I realized that having a horse is not going to be sustainable. Over that time, I was on depression medication. My wife was on many different kinds of depression medications, diagnosed with bipolar and so forth. And dating up to the point of marriage was very stressful. I remember going for a date Sunday night, and we had a little parlor, just a room to ourselves. We'd sit on the couch and talk and have devotions and so forth. I remember I'd go down for supper, and then we'd have our time together, a couple, 3-4 hours, 5 maybe. I remember going down and laying on the floor so exhausted I'd fall asleep. I'd fall asleep laying on the carpet. That's how exhausting it was to deal with everything. And that was one place where I was comfortable enough to sort of pass out. So we went through some pretty dark times, and our credit card debt went up to, I think, around $20,000. Around that time, I decided that having a horse isn't really sustainable, and that a lot of spiritual things change. I realized that God can save people that aren't Mennonites, because God doesn't require people to be Mennonites. And then on that logic, what's the point? So, well, what's the point? We found other people and friends, and there's a group of Mennonites that left the Mennonite church, and somehow I found one to reach out to. At that point, I was feeling too depressed to really call anybody, so it had to be somewhere where I could message someone. So I found someone I could message on Facebook, and I got to talking and different things, and he invited us to church. So at that point, we had 20 to 40 people, a couple 10, 12 families meeting at the fire hall. And somebody asked, do you have a job? And I said, no, I don't have a job. I'm shooting horses and pretty much broke. So he offered me a job. He helped me get my driver's license. He pretty much gave me my first vehicle. And over that time, we got kicked out of our rental, so we had to move somewhere else. So our new church family was very helpful in getting us moved, but at the same time, we were in debt and broke and still struggling mentally, emotionally, to be able to get up in the morning, go to work, and just a lot of exhaustion and mental health struggles. But in that time, we had people around us that prayed for us and really helped us push through the situation and stood us under the arms and got us going. And we both kicked the drugs. My wife tapered off over time. I went off. She actually went on her own to her psychiatrist and told her that she's going completely off. Her psychiatrist gave her the death stare and told her, good luck. We'll see you. Don't come back, she said. Good luck and don't come back. And so by the grace of God, we haven't had to go back. And we really were thankful for that. But the whole story of that is that leaves us poor and broke. And we had 3 children at the point. Now we have 4. We had to move again from Himrod, so we're in our third place. And the rent went from $275 to $600 to now $800 a month. And with that situation, my in-laws so far refused to loan us any money. They started on a dairy farm. Actually, they started in a house. My in-laws started in a small house, rented a dairy farm, moved to their own dairy farm, sold it and moved to another dairy farm, sold that. Now they have their own property plus another several hundred acres. So they have done very well. So I think they would be able to help us out if we were to find a direction. It's just that they don't approve of us not having a Mennonite church membership of some kind. So that's the foul up right now. They are allowing us to use their minivan because we don't have any vehicles on the road. They're even paying the insurance, which I really appreciate. I hate asking for anything from anyone. And I believe in the YouTube thing. Well, I really enjoy doing the videos. I don't really enjoy the editing. I'd pass that off to someone else. Kind of like the paperwork in my business. I don't really enjoy it. So I had a ton of creativity. We built a bunch of cool stuff when I was newlywed. We built a Roper race tractor. We built a Craftsman racing tractor. And that was partial payment for my Tacoma now that I got, which really helped me out of a bind. There was some other stuff we did, but it's completely broke back then too. So it was pretty hard. But I did learn how to invest. I did learn about cryptocurrencies, and right now cryptocurrencies and stocks and stuff are way down, 80% or so in some cases. Crypto moves faster up and moves faster down, so I know the risk. It's okay. I think we can work ourselves out of this corner. If not, there's lots of stuff to do out there. There's tons of jobs. I just can't allow myself to get too depressed to where I'm too depressed to call. I believe my place is with my family, with the kids. They're just a handful for Sarah to handle on her own. And I really believe that dads and moms belong at home together. I know it's not always possible to do that. We're not in the ideal world, so I understand if it doesn't work out. I've had to go out and earn my bread as well. But I believe in my dreams. I love doing creative stuff, and if I had any ability to, I'd love to bring more people in here, bring disadvantaged kids in and get them on their feet, try and sponsor creativity and go around and be a positive force for the world. Right now we're having to press on very hard, really keep pushing as many hours as I can. I have somewhere between 75 and 140 hours in this. There's 7 episodes now, and there's at least 10 hours of work in each episode. So that's a 70 side. It might be twice as much. I don't know. So hopefully this can be a thing. Like I said before, the ag tractors and engines, the diesel tuning stuff, diesel swapping stuff is really into my thing. We found overlanding and jeeping, 4-wheel driving and stuff the last while. I really enjoy ATVs and running around. I have a weird fascination with small stuff like miniature farm tractors built out of garden tractors, miniature hay wagons, like miniature farming. So maybe someday we can do miniature cows and miniature goats with miniature tractors, miniature hay balers and stuff like that. So that'd be pretty fun. I'm not sure how it's going to work. I'm not an animal person, so it would help if the kids would really like that. They could just go out and do it on their own. With the Cub Cadets and the Hondas and stuff. Even my little Tacoma truck, mini truck. But with the creativity and the ideas, I'd love to let it flow freely into this channel and this be a medium for good in the world. Right now it's not paying a lot, but that's my story. I thought I'd sit down and tell you guys why I'm so broke. Part of why I'm so broke is mental health struggles. And some of the mental health struggles, I gotta be honest, come from being under too much pressure. Too much pressure makes me try and work too fast. Too much pressure makes me try and choose band-aid solutions instead of doing things right. It's very therapeutic to sit down and do things right. And if there's a bearing or a seal that needs replaced, we'll just replace that. That's what I want. That way, not everything is a stressed out, broken piece of junk. So, and I love learning things. I love to learn to do some body work. I did some rust repair on the Ford 500. I might try and buy this minivan and do some rust repair on it. Basically what I did on the Ford 500. And see if we can sell that to somebody else. But right now, I think that's all I needed to talk about. The trucks. Oh, I was going to talk about some build stuff too. So what are the plans with the Toyotas going forward? Well, the plan right now is to take the Toyotas off the road for 2 months. And those 2 months, we're going to just focus our time on seeing how much work we can throughput here. We have the minivan. I think we'll probably go weekends and do events and stuff. We might not be able to take the ATVs off-road anymore, which we have the whole giant muck to ride on. And once the crops are in, the farmers won't be down there anymore at all, so we can pretty much rip around as much as we want as long as we don't hurt the crops that are in the fields. So maybe we'll have more people come over and ride with us if that's possible. The Tacoma, I got a hold of JoJo on the Tacoma Facebook page. And I got upper ball joints, lower ball joints. I got Bilstein 5100 shocks for it. I want a set of 2001 4Runner front coil springs. I got to get a hold of JoJo for those. The engine idles high, so I gotta make sure. I want to take the whole intake manifold off. It's disgusting. It's full of all kinds of old junk, soot, carbon, goo. So I want to clean the throttle body, the IAC valve, the EGR valve, and the intake tract. And I want to see if I can do anything to keep the EGR from clogging up the intake again, if that's what it was. Hopefully we can reach in and clean the intake ports and all that stuff as well. I might just give it a power washing and drain the water out the bottom. So front suspension and getting the engine to run right. Those are the two things on the list for the Tacoma. Now the 4Runner, we exploded the front diff this winter. So the front diff needs to come out and get sent off for a rebuild. The right rear passenger door is caved in on the 4Runner. So I just talked with the body guys at Lamar Zimmerman Enterprises. I'm gonna see what they can see. We'll see what they can quote me for the door. I might see if they can pull the dents out, and then we'll just pop the door off and repaint it. And we're also talking about the whole paint on the whole truck. I had the idea, well, maybe he could buff it all back down to the paint, or just take off all the rough stuff, just buff it all down flat, and then I could respray it with clear. I talked with the secretary. The secretary didn't think that's really the idea. He thought Lamar would probably just spray the whole thing if he did that amount of work to it. In which they got to pull the mirrors and a bunch of the trims and stuff. So it's really not that easy to do. So there's another option or two where we could block it down, sand the whole truck down, and then just respray it in the same Toyota green. And me try and do a clear coat on it. I don't know about cutting paint back and stuff, but I'm sure I could learn. The rear coils are saggy on the 4Runner, so the rear coils I like to find either stock or OME 2-inch lift. Maybe we do Bilsteins and a 2-inch lift in the front. I don't really know. I want to get rid of the old man steps and some of this square tubing I've got. That square tube there in the doorway. I can make some rock sliders, I think. The rear bumper is also rusted out. It's got a couple holes in the corners. There's enough of a spot where all the dirt piles in the back corners of the bumper. So I thought about doing a rear bar on that. The Toyotas supposedly are pretty bad bumper in the back. It gets all caved in. So I thought about doing a swing out tire carrier and a rear bar on it. I like to do a front bar and a winch. But granted, that's a lot of stuff to do to it. But top priority is getting the front diff sorted and the door. So I can buy a door on eBay. It's just pretty hard to find a green door that's not junk, that also has the same fender flares. Because most of the 3rd gen 4Runners don't have any holes in the door. They don't have any fender flares at all. And then there's a couple different fender flares from 99, 2000 to 2001 and 2 or whatever. The last few years have some couple different. So they're very hard to find. So I might just have to spend the $400 and have a door sent out here. I don't know of anything around. I might have to just call all the Wilbert's picking poles and see if they got anything. So that's about it. The 4Runner needs the rear coils done, the front diff done, and the door done. It's also got the power antenna that broke off. I'd like that fixed. It'd be nice to have the radio again. But I had big dreams of putting a stainless steel Overlander exhaust on it and all this and that. But so the plan going forward is 2 months. We'll get this guy sold and the Recon back there all fixed up and done. Hopefully get that sold. Buy some new projects. First of all, bring the Tacoma in here. Get that all situated. Put that truck back on the road. I want to get as much fuel economy as I can, because I do tend to run all over Creation to pick up these 4-wheelers and stuff. And I really depend on the truck. I love that truck. That truck has, at 14 years old, I was ready to commit suicide, to make the story short. And ever since that, I've had problems with just being too self-centered and suicidal, and just like feeling like maybe the world would be better off if I wasn't here at all. And the little Tacoma, I bought it out of a snowdrift in my friend Austin's yard, and that little truck did not want to die. It just wants to keep going and going and going. It's 22 years old this year, been in the salt its whole life, and it just won't die. I've jumped it, I've drowned it, I've bogged it, I have wrecked it, and it just won't quit. So just getting in it and hearing it run, it gets my heart beating again and makes me want to live a good life, keep on fighting. So I really want the truck back again. I might try and buy the minivan. The minivan's got some rust, and it's got a really bad lifter tick right now. So at some point, we got to sneak the minivan in here and get that. See if I really hope I can just reach in, pull the flat lifter out, and not have a wiped off cam lobe. So this, besides all of that, this is the most beautiful place on earth, with the trees and the breeze and the sunlight in the morning. It's wonderful here with my family and my wife. We have the greatest relationship, more than I have ever imagined could be possible. And I always believed that if I struggled through the teenage times and the hardships at home, I'd have a good life. I've got all that and more. I'm just not rich yet. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I know this has been a very long episode. I feel like I've kind of owe everyone the backstory. Why are we taking the vehicles off the road? Well, it's because we're poor, and we've been poor before. But I'm not afraid of this. It's just that after I drove up there and heard the $5,000 for a paint job quote and the $500 at the very minimum for the door and $1,200 for the front diff, and then we still own a 4Runner. We don't all fit in as a family, so now we're just trapped in a minivan that's got no excitement to it. We might as well be in a Tesla. At least we save some money on gas. So anyway, guys, that's the story. We're poor, but we're working on it. And all my friends tell me that you just got to keep on going. And the other Sunday, I went and averaged out the lifespans of my grandparents that had passed away. And I figured out that at 30 and 2/3 years of age, that's halfway to the end. So according to that math, my birthday is next month. I'm halfway dead already. But then I told my mom last Sunday, and she said, "Oh, your great-grandmothers lived to be 90 years old." It's just kind of a joke. It's like this reflection, like, let's make this serious. I'm halfway dead. So what are the priorities in my life, you know? Where do I want to go with life? I better do something that I enjoy. Everybody says, do what you love. You'll never work a day in your life. This project's been pretty long and tedious, I'll be honest. And some days it's just like, why? How much more can I take? But that's one reason we like these smaller projects. They go a little quicker. They're done sooner. And you don't get sucked into the crushing the cost and the time, and you just starve to death before you get done. So I'm halfway dead. I don't know. Good thing I don't have to figure that out. Anyway, but that's my commitment to life. We have this beautiful place, this wonderful opportunity. I know it's not my own property. I wish it was, but we got to start somewhere. And I think that this could be great. I love three-wheelers, and I love doing fun things, doing off-roading, four-wheeling. And maybe once the kids are gone, we can try semi-driving like Leroy does. Go overlanding, go on a motorcycle trip. So that's it. That really is it, guys. I think I've covered everything. It's been a long, hard road to get here, in my opinion, but I see many more people out there that have a way, way, way harder time in life than I do. I've got God on my side. I've got a living relationship with Christ, the creator of earth and everything that's in it. I'm in good hands. I can't complain. All I've got to do is work and try and stay in the center of God's will. So that's what we're trying to do. Trying to make this world a better place. One life, one three-wheeler at a time. Thanks, guys, for watching. God bless you, and enjoy the content. I'll see you in the next one.